If you've been following the day before, you'd know that it's been thrown into the ringer this past week, given the game's recent delay to November and lack of communication from developer Fantastic. No wonder the talk surrounding the title is largely negative. Many have even gone on to claim that the game isn't even real, and as a response, the developers have shared 10 minutes of raw gameplay to prove us all wrong. But unfortunately, it hasn't played out the way they were hoping it would. A lot of it has to do with the developers portraying the game in such a lackluster light. And as the gameplay starts, we see the player traversing through the suburbs and off to the side. Another player is seen alluding to the implementation of a group feature, which we know little to nothing about, even to this day. But as they work their way through the admittingly beautiful environment, a house seems to be along their path. And as the first player enters the house, we get a look at the design and the overall feel of the interior space. But what's most notable about it is the workbench located in the garage. It isn't clear, though, whether these workbenches are in every house or whatever the case may be, but it's nice to know that there is an added layer of customization. On screen, we're able to get a quick look at the dismantling and crafting system, which appears simplistic, and shortly after, you see the player messing with different attachments on their gun, and as they're being equipped, the stats at the bottom left for the weapons seemingly change. I've seen others online saying they wish it was a bit more in depth, but for a game like this, I think the system will do just fine for what it's trying to achieve. Although it's clear that the house can be explored and looted, the player only does so briefly in this instance and moves on to the outside, progressing forward. In the near distance, you hear zombies, and we get to see true gunplay. Unlike the other gameplay trailers, this player can actually aim their weapon properly. And from what I noticed, the HUD seems to disappear whenever you're not in combat. This is a little detail that I'm a fan of and would like to see more of in other survival games, which would add to the overall level of immersion while playing. After this, the player begins to transition into the next area of the map, and from afar, it appears to be a city. As they make their way into the city, you get a sense of the scale and how it moving through these so called levels will end up being like, but I doubt it'll be as expansive and accessible as we all wish it would be. Although that is only speculation, we do get a glimpse at a new feature inside of a restaurant where the player is disarming an alarm by inputting the correct code. I'm not sure if this will feed into the more dynamic elements, such as zombies reacting to the sound of an alarm or what that may trigger or activate, but if done right, this could make for interesting encounters with other players in the vicinity, but I guess we'll just see more on that at a later point. You may notice that the player even stops to loot as they progress through the city space, as anyone would, and the inventory comprises of mostly single slot items, which I prefer more than anything. As a fan of the survival genre, I've been able to see just how important it is to get in and out of menus as quickly as possible. To put it simply, you don't want to have to fumble with inventory slots when you're just trying to loot quickly and move on. This is especially true in high stake PvP moments where timing and precision is crucial, so this is a plus in my book. Despite this being a positive, it's hard not to notice a lack of tension or risk while they make their way through the space. At times, you see them kill a few zombies, but they don't seem to pose any significant threat and are taken care of very easily. We do see, though, after an encounter in a back alley, the player drinks a beverage and it hints at a hydration system, but from the looks of it, it more than likely works just the same as any other survival game. And that pretty much sums up the extent of gameplay that we see, despite the additional strangely put together short by the devs, which felt like a wasted opportunity. To be honest, it was quite boring to watch because nothing really happened. It makes me wonder why they even chose to showcase this bit of gameplay that answers only a few of our questions. But for the most part, we see just the basics and nothing more. So we really don't learn much of anything, and like others, I was hoping for a bit more at this point, considering the game was originally slated to release in March prior to the delay. All I can hope for is that the next time we see official gameplay that it includes some PvP and a more in-depth breakdown to the core gameplay loop, but I guess only time will tell.